3. Our tribe's tent area was about the size of a cul-de-sac with 5 large homes. We lived in large old-fashioned tents that flapped open throughout the day. We didn't truly have valuables that we needed to keep track of that we did not keep with us, and anyone messing with us would be in for a rude awakening. Another pack of 4 lived with us, who mostly kept to themselves, and for the most part, had lived long lives protecting and fighting for Gaia. On rare occasions, they went out to do quests as the spirits required of them. Within a quarter of a mile, there was a river that fed a lake, which flowed away as well. It was prized territory and we guarded it as best as we could. We got decently fresh water from the river feeding the lake, and there were fish in the lake. Anyone other than the tribe trying to fish the lake was rudely directed to go away. A dozen humans lived with us and knew of us. Some were mates of other werewolves, one was a story keeper, one an elder, one tribe lead who had passed his prime, one tended the rabbit farm, one handled the food and water supply. Days after the last chase, Fox caught me trying to spend time with the rabbits again.
You aren't considering letting them go again, right? You know they are just plain terrified of you, right? They smell the predator on you and can't run. They quiver in your hands because when you grab them, they don't just think, they know you are going to kill them. It is why when you release one, it jumps away from you.
Trying to help Fox see my side, I said,
Alpha, I am almost as fragile as these little things here. They shiver until I pick them up and let me pet them, see?
Holding one, it certainly wasn't calm to either of our eyes. It shivered and tried to jump away when I lifted my hand, but then dropped it down again on the rabbit to pet it, preventing the escape. I just didn't want to get it then. Fox tried to convince me of his view as well.
Boy, you will learn, when you get a bit older, you will keep getting hungry if you only eat things we grow or that others hunt. We are big warriors and need to eat to stay strong. The less you eat, the harder it will be for you to grow, and in that case, harder to grow into our warrior form that will help you fight for Gaia. You need food to burn.
Finally asking something that has been on my mind for a while.
What if I am not meant to be a warrior? There needs to be mechanics, or ritualists with us, doesn't there? Or I could learn a bunch of stuff and be a doctor? I think I have a knack for trying to do spiritual things.
I remember feeling like it was hard to breathe, even trying to discuss this sort of thing. The other pack members told me to defend myself to Fox. It was much easier to talk to them than my own alpha. My head and heart pounded waiting on his reply taking too long.
I won't be big and strong like the rest of you. Not to mention what the spirits named me. I'm worried.
Fox raised an eyebrow.
You still won't tell me what they named you, will you? From what I hear, when your packmates were given our names during the ceremony, you were given yours and no one else could hear your name that they called you.
Shaking my head.
No way, it was so mean. I don't know what anyone else would say, even you. I think they whispered it to me on purpose. I don't know what to make of it. Not to mention, if BF and TS got a hold of that info, they'd never let me hear the end of it.
Having done what I could to not discuss my name ceremony with Fox, for some time, he still kept asking. Fox answered this time.
That is part of what we are here to answer, what the spirits have in store for us, and it is up to me to teach you what it is that they mean. I have a lot more experience with this than you. I am here to support and guide. If you even whisper it into my ear, I swear to Gaia herself, that I will not tell another soul.
You swear to me that what the spirits told me, you will tell not another soul, including spirits? I don't want you acting differently with the others.
I swear, they must have told you something serious if you are so worried.
Walking closer to Fox, I fidgeted more than the bunny in my hands. When we got within 5 yards of Fox, the rabbit became squeamish and shook like it vibrated in my hands. Moving closer, the bunny bit down on my hand. After release, it hopped off in any direction that was away from the predator wolf in front of it, or the 2 predators behind it. Fox patted my shoulder stating,
You see, buddy? I even just bathed recently, he easily smelled me as a predator.
Still shaking, I moved closer and whispered in Fox's ear, then stopped after a couple of seconds. Fox's eyes widened when what I said sank in. His eyes met mine for a short time, but then we broke off the gaze. I walked back over to the rabbits trying to hide in another corner. Asking,
So Alpha, how should I interpret that?
Fox was perplexed. He wasn't expecting that in general, but it also disturbed him. It took him some time to start a sentence, then try again, then quiet again. Then he tried.
Well, the spirits speak in code and riddles. Who knows what it must have meant?
I remember this feeling burst out of me.
Are you kidding me? How do you think I'm supposed to feel? A kid gets told his name that is meant to be given to him of what his destiny is, what their plans are for him, and he hears that?
I'll need to talk to the spirits about this.
My eyes widened, I almost lost it and ran.
Gaia spit. You swore.
Fox raised his hands in apology.
I swore not to mention your name, but maybe they can guide me to something. I won't mention you or your name, or anything close to pertaining to our name for you. I will keep my promise. Come, today is a big day for spiritual training.
He knew how to dial me down. Smiling as we walked back towards the others, I remember that it was the most fun part of my week when we went over spirit stuff. Not usually if I had to memorize anything, but usually when we talked about them in general, they were just so much more interesting. The rest of the tribe wasn't thrilled when I let the rabbits loose weeks ago, and it took quite a bit of money to get the farm back up, so he followed the process of the small entry and exit rooms so that no rabbits could rush out of a door. Fox made sure the door was closed behind us. Fox started when we reached the others.
There are many types of spirits, but they mostly have a system of types that they are, and they stay in those groups. Spirits dealing with humans usually stay where they are manifested in human territories, but they get around, just like humans. Nova spirits, which are the representation of modern innovation or tech, cars someone builds, repairs, or spends time lovingly caressing, are represented in the spirit realm. Humans, on extremely rare occasions, find themselves there. That usually is because some careless spirit has ripped open a space between their world and ours. It is our place to not only police the creatures and corruptions of Lotto, but to keep the spirits on their side of the realm. Spirits directly coming over into our realm is usually disastrous for Gaia in the form of sickness and destruction, but can also be unexplained forms of human creativity.
Brownface nudged me when I sat with the rest of them, feeling like he just bruised one of my arm bones. He whispered, asking like the jerk he was.
Hey Runt, did you finally take the plunge and kiss one of the food balls today?
I nudged him back with my elbow, but he barely noticed it, chuckling over towards Tree Shredder, who probably didn't hear. They both looked up at Fox to try to play off the teasing. Fox continued when he saw we were all paying attention.
That sort of thing is what the humans used to call a muse, but that is usually a spirit, breaking through their realm to visit, and break what should be whole. Spirits in the same group such as emotional spirits that represent anger, happiness, creativity, and energy, stay in the same group. A spirit of fire might be represented at an electricity plant to get hot to create human energy. Gas spirits have been more prevalent over the last few centuries due to humans finding it to use in their tools and cars. A spirit of water might be in our lake over there, and it could either keep you safe or, if it is angry, might try to drown you.
I remember my stomach churning when he mentioned drowning. I almost did one time years ago. Even though the rest of the pack was watching, I nearly drowned, even though I was a decent swimmer. One of my muscles seized up in so much pain, I could barely move them and was under the water for maybe about 10 seconds until someone from the beach noticed I wasn't coming back up and swam to me. I was thankful, but it was embarrassing. Fox continued.
The spirit realm can be breached by us, because Gaia wills it to be so. You all have broken through to find yourselves in the spirit realm quite a few times, and we will go there again today to do something important. On this, a very special day, we will be finding our pack totem, spirit guide. The abilities and rituals you can gain, and share, grow a lot just with a spirit, helping you along the way. Pack communication is possible through them, they can be a guide for you, and you will see, they are just great. Without one, well, you just will be weaker, and we don't do that, do we?
We answered, with smiles on our doughy faces.
No, Alpha.
The veil between our worlds is very smooth and easy to breach in our territory, it is why we stay in this area to train. We are closer to the spirits in the area and it helps us in general. You will be marked and represented by the spirits before you quest, and they will decide amongst themselves who will choose us as a totem. You will be shown by numbers your strengths and weaknesses in a spirit's eyes, so that they know who needs to represent you. Once a spirit is chosen, they also, most often, have gifts for pack members. Are there any questions before we leave?
Brownface asked.
Why can't we just pick our spirit guide based on how they can help us?
That is not how Gaia wants it. If everyone could choose our own due to the benefit of the spirit, there would be too few representing other aspects of her realm.
Tree Shredder asked.
What is this about gifts?
Each spirit gives different items, or special abilities, but they are very often beneficial to the pack. Almost always one of the first rituals you will learn will be to enchant your clothing to fit to form with you or melt into your body to only form over you when you are human. It is very handy. You won't always be in this very warm climate, and you'll be able to pull out a jacket or sweatshirt if needed. No one will be able to steal your wallet if you melt it into your body to never be available.
Remembering that we didn't care to know anything more, we would finally get to join with a spirit, and gain strength with it and through it. I was more excited that day than ever before. Monkey Feet was excited as well, she was smiling almost as wide as me. When we looked at each other, my face warmed and I looked away. Fox stated.
Very well, if no more, then the spirit that represents us, will be near the lake in their realm. Go there, meet at the lake, and we'll go from there. The spirit there will take information, and leave, representing us to the many dozens of spirits waiting to take us in.
It didn't take long for each of us to push through the veil between worlds to reach the other side. This was one of the few things in which I was good. Pushing through the veil as though it was a paper sheet blocking my way, punching straight through without much effort. I saw that Fox had beaten me to the other side like usual. It didn't take long for each of us to push through the veil between worlds to reach the other side. This was one of the few things in which I was good. Pushing through the veil as though it was a paper sheet blocking my way, punching straight through without much effort. I saw that Fox had beaten me to the other side like usual. MF was right behind us, and so was BF. Tree Shredder had the toughest time breaking through, he worked on his strength more than his spirit, but it only took him a few seconds more, not long to keep anyone waiting for any amount of time. We never walked faster to the lake than on that day, and a spirit waited that looked like a colorless, shapeless humanoid kid. It sort of looked humanoid in shape, only a yard tall, but it had gray and white coloring swirling around lightly through its body. It waited there with a piece of wood and scratched it with a finger as we walked up. The spirit spoke clearly, but in short bursts and in code like other spirits, but it is the most any of us had ever heard a spirit speak in general. It blurted out in the question.
Lake Pack, spirit?
Fox nodded. The spirit looked at Fox, and asked in a questioning tone.
You, member?
Fox answered, yes. The gray coloring in the spirit moved up to what would be its head. It looked at each of us for nearly a minute and scratched a bit on the board. When it scratched on the wood, we all heard how many scratches we each had. When it looked at Fox, it marked on the board a dozen times, but it did not show us what any of it meant. It held the piece of wood close to it and marked a line under the section. When it was done with him, it looked at BF, who struck a pose. The spirit marked some more, nearly 7 times on the board. It stopped at T, S and marked on the board 5 times. It stopped at M, F, and marked on the board 8 times. Each was quick marks, up and down, or side to side. Its head turned towards me, and it stood watching me for longer than the rest, looking up and down. It scratched once on the board, looked back up at me. This was a different reaction than the rest. It marked twice more, but the last marking was longer and its arm moved around more than the rest, but it seemed to be a 3 mark on the spirit's board. That marking number dropped my head like a rock sinking into the lake only yards away, with a kerplunk. BF nudged TS with his elbow, and they both pointed and chuckled at me. I knew an earful of teasing was in my future when the alpha wasn't listening. The spirit walked back in front of us all, looked over the board, over all of us again, and nodded. It finished by saying, "Wait," then vanished. BF dared to whisper, when the alpha walked away for a few seconds, to sit on the edge of the lake. He snickered and spoke quietly.
Hey, nice score, Runt. I'm sure those 3 lines meant that you impressed it. If we get a crappy spirit because of you, you are going to get it.
Hey.
The alpha called, and everyone looked over at him.
Come here, all of you.
We obliged our alpha. He continued.
The number of markings has nothing to do with the score. You all were paying attention nearly as much as I was, and the boys' markings were not a score, and neither were all of your markings. They were just representations. We do not know what that spirit saw in us, only that I am the best, of course.
He said that, finishing with a smile.
I used to have a pack and I have been training for some time. You are still learning and growing. You will surpass me one day, I hope.
He might have been the alpha, but he was also an adult, not some teen like the rest of us. He no longer had a pack, and Gaia had more plans for him, so he was a mentor to our little group of teens. He hoped we would work together a bit more, but he wasn't our master or parent, so he did what he could. Fox continued.
Everyone just sit here, shut up, and listen to the spirit realm, and this lake. You should listen every chance you get to the whispers of the spirits. They are everywhere here.
We sat for too long, nearly 5 minutes went by, and we had not heard or seen the spirit come back. Tree Shredder was the most impatient one. He got up and paced along our side of the beach of the lake. Another 10 minutes went by, listening to everything, and hearing nothing. Monkey Feet got a little antsy as well, and started fidgeting. She stretched out her legs after having been sitting on them. Brownface was next. He got tired of being patient, and started doing push-ups like the rest of us were watching, but none of us were. Losing patience after another 15 minutes myself, I hoped that I didn't jeopardize our chance at a spirit totem in general. Did that even happen? We all heard a growl not far away. A spirit had walked up to the lake, and it was a mean-looking badger spirit. It started lapping at the water when it wasn't quickly attacked by the nearby pack. In other words, us. After a couple more seconds, it growled, wanting to start a fight. We had a real spirit fight about to start, the first real one with a natural spirit. We have not practiced a lot of fighting in general. We have practiced a few, but none in the open spirit realm, usually in a controlled area designed for us. It screeched, bared its fangs, growled, and hissed. Fox told us fairly quietly.
Spirits are not always as they seem. It looks small, but we should always try to take them together. If we do handle them alone, we do get some more of a possible bonus, but it doesn't.
BF blurted out.
Bonus, you say? I can take it.
Fox called out.
No, Brown.
Brownface had already growled back at the spirit. He started to form into the warrior form, drawing the badger spirit's attention. He grew a foot taller within seconds, his teeth and fingers getting sharper. With one leap, he closed the distance, and a jump and a swipe started the fight. Fox called out.
Wolf form, everyone.
The others followed his orders, shifting into smaller predators, but BF had already started the attack, swiping at the much smaller creature. He connected with it, clawing in a first blood strike, but the spirit did not bleed open like a regular animal. The spirit backed away a few steps and darted in for a bite at the huge wolf beast that struck first. The werewolf might have huge claws and bigger muscles, But the first claw dig at the spirit did not drop it. The badger is a sturdy animal, and it is an even sturdier spirit, it just doesn't give a crap. When it got inside BF's arm reach, it bit into his left bicep, and made the huge beast wail. Brownface felt some pain. We had been training for a little while, but he hadn't been a bit like this. A spirit does not bite with regular fangs or claw with plain claws. It fights with the spiritual power that it contains. Apparently, even a badger spirit can have some power, as it took a chunk out of the warrior's arm. Another howl from the werewolf, as his packmates joined in. His arm losing some muscle in surprise dropped Brownface to the ground, but luckily for him, his pack was there after a short couple of scrapes to help. As his muscle knitted back together, the spirit was chewing his muscle in its fangs and swallowed it. Fox as a wolf, headbutt the badger off of BF and growled back trying to intimidate it. Seeing another few wolves jump in did deter the badger for a second, but the fight had started, and he would never live it down if he ran off, so he growled back at the wolf. Another badger ran up to back up its friend, or family member, maybe. With one strong bite, BF had looked bruised and beaten. His muscles were already knitting back together though. In this world, we were not invincible, but we were fairly hard to kill. Spirits hit hard, even the little badgers. Spirits fight with ferocity in their realm, not just attacking the body, but the spiritual energy of us as wolves. The two spirits seemed to gain a bit of confidence, with the other's presence, and growled as any badger should. The bell had been rung, and the wolves darted into the smaller predators for the fight. Fox and TS fought one, MF and I got the other. BF wasn't used to such a hit and losing muscle like that. He waited to get his health back, regenerating it at his desire. Combat in our wolf forms is not something we have practiced too much in doing, so it was strange at first. Most of the time we have been practicing clawing in our warrior form, but Fox and Tree Shredder's badger was certainly upset at being attacked while getting a drink. Fox clawed into the badger and TS clawed in as well, at a different angle, our claws vicious and rending, ripping open the spirit's stomach, which would of course be fatal usually, but spirits are different. Its stomach just, sort of, stayed open and dangled against the ground. It was a little unsightly, but it continued to fight. It clawed Tree Shredder's nose, but he was made of sturdy stuff, and it didn't look like it hurt much. This was a real fight though. We haven't been in the middle of one as of yet, mostly it has been some practice with spirits that have gone easy on us. Monkey Feet clawed in and swiped at the other badger's nose, but the badger struck back, biting her arm as it swung. MF was looking over at me trying to help, and so was Brownface. Even though he was out, he was watching. I remember that first fight easily. I stuck my butt up in the air like I was about to pounce on a tennis ball. Monkey Feet growled at me. Maybe I looked more like it was playtime, over helping her in the fight. I dove in awkwardly and bit at the badger, not able to get a bite in at a leg. The badger moved out of the way. I didn't want to hurt the spirit, something didn't feel right about this fight, but there was little that would stop it now. Certainly hoping we wouldn't die to small badger spirits. If we killed them, they would just manifest somewhere else unless we were eaten, but I didn't have the heart to dig in. I did put some effort into it though. Shaking my rough and hairy body all over, it helped shake off the nervous energy I felt. Monkey Feet was tired of waiting. She had all of this thing's attention. She hopped from side to side seeing if the badger would dart in. It didn't seem worried about me. I didn't have the conviction of the fight, but the girl wolf did, and that seemed to rile it up even more. It leaped with gusto after the girl wolf. She darted to the side making it miss entirely, but she bit down heavily on the back of its legs and body as it flew by. She pulled the one badger to the ground and it squealed as it hit the dirt of the spirit world. I ran up trying to help, trying to prove I had the guts for it, but Brownface jumped in, pushed me aside with one huge arm, and clawed the front part of the badger's body. With one half in her teeth and the other half set to chunks from a huge warrior's claws, the spirit went limp in her maw. Spirits don't have natural blood, but spiritual energy that flows out of them as they disperse. When MF's jaw clamped down on less and less meat, she tasted that energy, and it certainly was a jolt of spice. Not like a lump of meat, but more like gravy with a bit of caffeine in it. She licked her maw, savoring the taste. She growled up at BF, his huge claws came inches away from her face. BF looked down at her, and gave a shrug like it couldn't be helped. I got up also after rolling to a stop from Brownface's push. A few coins clanged on her face. When the badger fully dispersed, it made her flinch before they hit the ground. She didn't see that coming, but there were more important things going on. Fox and Tree Shredder had a bit more trouble with their badger. It kept on hopping around dodging their swipes and bite attempts, and it even got a claw swipe in as its face darted in for a bite and pulled back with a scrape. Were we a pack, or were we a pack? Brownface, Monkey Feet, and I circled far around Fox and Tree Shredder to box in the badger. It didn't have anywhere to go. It could no longer hop too far to get away from the two wolves that were hounding it, so it stood its ground. One bite came in from Tree Shredder, it dodged. A bite that came in at another side from Fox, it rotated its body in the air and swiped under his chin. It was a small scrape for Fox, but he certainly was tired of this fight. It finally realized the other badger wasn't around, and it hissed and growled at the two that kept it bound. The hair stood up on the back of its neck and its body vibrated in anger. Looking at each of the targets, it still saw the big man-beast with spirit juice on its claw, and its body had mostly knitted from where it hit him the first time, and it wanted some more revenge, and maybe a little more of that wolf meat. With the speed of a rocket, it jumped back and landed on Brownface's chest, digging into his chest and fur. BF howled again, trying to say something as a wolf, but it came out in gurgles. Vocal cords aren't the first thing you think of in warrior form. He grabbed the badger and pulled it off, squeezing in his claws. The badger bit his hand, and the wounds on Brownface had opened back up, after nearly fully healing. Trying to help, my wolf maw snapped awkwardly trying to bite the badger, but only caught the bottom of BF's arm, which made him growl back. From the accidental bite, BF was being worn down, and some accidental friendly fire made him fall on his butt. He was able to keep one claw of the ferocious badger, but it was snarling and biting the air trying to fight back. With one claw out of the way, Tree Shredder got a claw in to damage the badger, and when he backed off, Fox chomped down on the bottom half of the badger and it finally slowed down to the wounds it had sustained. Lifting his maw, Fox was about to bite down hard, but Brownface was right next to him and he swiped at the spirit with his big claw, forcing it out of Fox's mouth onto the ground a yard away. As the adrenaline-filled fight drew to a close, the small humanoid spirit appeared back into our area. It was looking down at the board, and said,
"Spirit found."
It looked up, then looked back at the board, then looked up.
Wait.
Then it disappeared in a puff of smoke.